Oh,
God, I
oh.
thought you were going to say we're reading Latin. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, we're reading
Oh,
me Latin.
Posh Galvin, Peter. By the way, Peter, you're quite popular with the receptionist at my
Good.
work.
I'm trying to be
Good,
quite
good.
popular with her myself.
She's
Ooh.
I mean, she's a butterface, but that body,
Good body, yeah.
it's decent. It's reasonable.
What did you say? Fucking George. I keep Jake and George. I see
Hello.
bloody George nearly every day.
You see me every day.
Well, you know what I mean. But I feel like I have a bit of Jake in me. So I don't know.
I
I'm
know.
always
You,
seeing
you
Jake.
owe me 20 quid, didn't you?
No, I don't know you. Fuck off,
You owe
I.
me
Go out of
20
there.
quid,
He's
you
not
bastard.
present yet, Jacob. There's still hope for Donald.
All right, all right. We'll wait till 2 weeks then, all right?
Actually, do you know what? I don't even want to joke about it. I thought what happened was disgusting. But before we move on to that, George, why did she say? The fucking receptionist. Go on.
No, chocolate and chocolate, yeah. But you know, she. I can imagine her. But oh, we're recording, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we'll talk about this another time.
That ruins it now, doesn't it?
No, I'll edit this part out. I'm not going to. Yeah.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, she's.
Anyway,
Look,
George,
I mean,
George,
like,
tell me the story. What's going on?
she's 30 years old and she's unmarried and.
Okay, look, this isn't important. George, I'll text you tomorrow and we can organize something.
Oh,
Where's your video?
I need to go over there and see Ali anyway, so I'll go over there and see if I can't massage her ass or something and look deeply into her.
Right, before you edit this, do you want me to put on a suit and do like a BBC accent?
Well, the thing is, we're not going to do the video part. We're just going to do the audio. So.
Okay. Well, I can do a British accent if you want, like real. Good morning. Welcome to Martin's podcast.
I feel
Martin's podcast.
But what? I feel that all of us in different scenarios, in different rooms, in different places in the world, kind of adds to the
flavor.
Effect.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. That was the original thing when we had the first podcast. We were like practicing social distancing by podcasting from 2 different cities, and that was like our tagline from the beginning. So if I start with the jingle here, hold on 1 second. All right, guys, welcome to another podcast of Two Chimps Typing, and today we're doing it a little bit different because we're live with an Irishman, a Welshman, Cornishman, and an Americanishman. So hi, welcome to Two Chimps Typing. We just want to talk about the shit show that went down this week in Washington, D.C. with our
what a shit show it was.
With our great
Martin, you're the moderator. I believe that this is your show, so you will be asking
I just
questions to each of us individually.
I just want to have sort of a Cracker Barrel discussion. You know, we've done this so many times, guys, and obviously I think the most pressing bit of business is that Donald Trump needs to be removed from office.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi came out with that. I think they need to invoke the 25th Amendment. We need to see it at work for actually removing a president. And
there's 2 sides to this argument.
I think I was thinking about this the other day as well, and I think why remove him now? Why put fuel on the fire?
He's going to go in 2 weeks. The nuclear launch codes, and he wanted to attack Iran.
And he's been the same person for 2 weeks. I mean, sorry, for 4 years. He's like, if you get rid of him now, that's only going to fuel these MAGA heads going for. I mean, they're gonna be
agree with.
wild anyway,
I agree with Jake, but also I agree with Martin. But at the same time, I disagree with both of you. I think if you get rid of him now, you will make things worse.
Yeah.
But if you do get rid of him now, it will serve as a warning to any future president that if you act this way, there are consequences.
So I've got three opinions.
The argument for
the
argument for getting rid of him
argue it, and then
is actually greater.
So George,
Okay.
what's your feeling about if
the thing is, it's not about the Republican Party, it's the cult of personality, isn't it? It's about Donald Trump. We can say, get rid of Trump and put Mike Pence in charge for 2 weeks. But yeah, it's no longer about Republicans versus Democrats. It's about it's the MAGA heads. And I'm gonna try and, if we could find a way to subdue him for 2 weeks, I mean, obviously Facebook and Instagram have deleted his account until he's not president. Twitter, he's back on Twitter now.
Yeah.
But if we can somehow try and fucking put him in a room for 2 weeks, somehow, some way, and so we can have this transition, all the better. But yeah, I agree with Jake in the fact that if you remove him now, it's just going to make things worse. And
let's kind of do a round.
We should have removed him months and maybe years ago.
Okay.
And why are we having this conversation now 2 weeks before he? Do you know what I mean?
The reason why we're having this conversation now is because last week all the living former defense secretaries put their signature to a letter in which they said he is dangerous, and they specified something in the vaguest terms that they could, that something arose within the last 2 weeks that Trump wanted to do internationally that involved the US military. And that is why he's got to go. And that is why we heard Nancy Pelosi was so vocal when she gave her first press briefing after the certification of the election. And also, I think that if Mike Pence, if he were to say yes, and get the cabinet together and invoke the 25th Amendment, it would certainly repair Mike Pence's reputation, such as it is. But Congress is going to press on Monday with a second impeachment. Now, my understanding is that a second impeachment will make it so that Trump is not eligible to campaign for president in 2024. Now, that's great. That's great. And yeah, if we can contain him in a box, which he's already kind of done that himself, he's kind of contained himself in a box, then that's fine. But he is the commander in chief of the armed forces. There is something that the living defense secretaries, the former defense secretaries, felt fearful enough about before the siege on the Capitol building that it definitely makes you wonder. So that's my bit.
I have my hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
That's the clapping, by the way. That's not the hand up. That's the clapping.
Oh, I know. But I couldn't find a hand up thing. The point about the imminent war. Well, I have mixed feelings on that, because there is a part of me, and I love Iranians. We have Iranian friends, and none of us want to see war in Iran, because it is a beautiful country. It's one of the it's not the cradle of civilization, but it's pretty close historically wise to being, before the Greeks.
Yeah, the tiger.
It's exactly. It's like if Greece was the birth of democracy, then that Persian Empire, I mean, they did bring some great things to the planet. By today's standards, well, I don't want to get too PC about it, but
in a historical setting, Iran is a very important country and they've brought a lot to the world, and the people there are great. Having said that, there is a part of me that would like the Iranian regime to be put back in its place.
That will happen
You know?
eventually.
Yeah, and that could have a knock-on effect to countries such as where we are right now, kind of saying, well, look, if you go too far down the line, this is what happens to you, like a la Saddam Hussein. Okay, so that kind of, there's a little part of my brain that kind of like, oh well, Peter, that would be nice if we could teach these, feckers a lesson earlier on so they don't do it in the future. But that's not a good enough reason to keep him in, and it's not a right reason.
That's kind of why I wanted him to leave, is that he needs to be that there needs to be some, not just repudiation, but there needs to be some like consequence of the insurrection.
Yeah, I agree completely. That's my next point. My next point is well, then following that logic, Trump needs to go now, because you can't, any future president, whether it's 10 years from now or 100 years from now, it's like, look, this is what happens when you do this. Because if we have Twitter now and Facebook, imagine what we have in 100 years' time, like our great grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I'm not American, but I hope this Pax Americana, as it's called, lasts for 500 years, because it's much better than a Pax Russian, a Russian Pax or a Chinese Pax, in my opinion. So I want it to last for as long as possible. So that's my 2 cents.
Do you think the American generals, though, considering Trump's reputation now from this Capitol assault, has been dragged through the mud, the generals don't take him seriously, his party is furious at him, especially after the elections in Georgia. Do you think they would take orders, though?
Well, we saw this with Colin Powell in after 9/11. Colin Powell did question Bush mightily. He did push against it, but the problem is that a general can't overrule the commander-in-chief.
But this is the thing now. Who got the National Guard into the Capitol? It wasn't Donald Trump, and that's obscene in itself.
The National Guard was only brought in because they have, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, they have a better, say, PR image than the police.
Okay, so here's the problem.
But Mike Pence, they called Mike Pence to do it.
But Mike Pence saved his reputation in the debate with Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
with Mike Pence.
No,
well, in my opinion, okay, just to let me finish my point.
Yeah.
Mike Pence saved his reputation. Like, we all know he's a hardcore Christian, and whatever. Okay, he can be, but and if you don't like it, don't vote for it. So it's a free country over there. So but in the debate, he's not an idiot. In the debate, he was respectful. He gave his points. He kind of salvaged his reputation as much as one can do working with Trump. So he's not a Mike Pence isn't a lost cause, And if anything, having someone like Mike Pence, who has, for most people or some people, who has such a reprehensible view on abortion and gay rights and everything like that, this was actually the perfect opportunity for someone like him to salvage himself, because he is standing next to someone who's so reprehensible. So anyway,
with the National Guard, though, I thought they asked Pence to send the National Guard. So is that not true?
Yeah. So the original sort of press that got out there was that Pence was the one that ordered the National Guard in. But it turns out, with a little bit of autopsy, that that's not what happened. So while the guys were still in the building, what's his name? The whip, the Democratic whip, somebody said to him, can't we get the National Guard in here? And so he opened his phone, as he's from Maryland, and he contacted the governor of Maryland and said, hey, can you send some National Guard in? He said, yeah, I'm just waiting on authorization. And so they said, well, who are you getting authorization from? He said, well, from the Secretary of Defense. Now, the Secretary of Defense was fired in the week after the election, the November election. And there's no explanation given why he was fired. And a guy who's like 5 levels down in the Defense Department was somehow became the acting Secretary of Defense, completely unqualified person. And that's who's in charge of the Secretary of Defense now, or who holds that spot now. So what eventually happened was Hogan, the Republican governor of Maryland, eventually got a phone call from a number he didn't recognize, and he answered the phone, and it was the Secretary of the Army. And he said, yeah, I hear you need some National Guard. And he said, or you need authorization to send your National Guard. And he said, yeah, we do. He said, but you're not the person to give the authorization. He's like, well, but I'm making the call. So the original story that Mike Pence is the one that did it doesn't seem to play out based on that conversation. And then they were mobilized. Maryland National Guard was mobilized. But, 350 National Guardsmen for Washington, D.C. were actually mobilized by the DC mayor a couple of days prior to January 6th. And 100 and some odd, maybe 150 of them were actually out in the city. And so it's very mysterious why they didn't immediately converge on the Capitol, because they were already there and ready with another 200 at the ready behind them. So this might be in investigation where we discover that that Donald Trump had his finger on the button, not letting them go to the Capitol so quick. In the same way that the Mr. Sund, the head of the Capitol Police, he might have had somebody in his ear keeping his staff shorted on that day as well. So those are obviously questions that have yet to be answered. And Mr. Sund has resigned. He tendered his resignation Thursday morning after Nancy Pelosi demanded it.
About the police, and obviously I have no idea, but just my theory on the police aspect of it, and I'm not rejecting anything you said, but this was my first thought with the police response, was that like maybe this is just a horrible result of circumstance. Like the police were so heavy-handed with Black Lives Matters, okay, and anybody who, and even though there were white people in the Black Lives Matters protests or riots, whatever you want to call them, protests, let's call them protests.
Well, let's use the example of the one at the Capitol a couple months ago. The one at the Capitol saw
let's choose anyone. I'm not calling them protests or riots. I'm just, because we know the news media, some of them say protests, some of them call riots. And I'm an Irish person looking at it.
But if we do a like for like scenario, back in the summer in Washington, D.C., BLM did protest at the U.S. Capitol. And there are photographs and video of an incredible police presence.
Now this is my point.
Yeah.
And this is exactly my point. Okay, so we'll use this one. At the BLM protest at the Capitol, and let's just, for full disclosure, Black Lives Matter did not try to storm the seat of power of democracy, okay? They just protested outside, that's all, okay?
Sure, yeah.
But saying that it's like a tragic tragedy of circumstance, the police then were criticized for their heavy-handed response.
Right. So
and there hasn't been any big protest since. And now we have our first one, and it just so happens that our first one are a bunch of whiteys.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
No,
and they don't do anything. But having said that, I did see a video of a white person trying to jump through the window, and I think I shared it with you, and they were shot.
Ashley
So
Barrett.
yeah, so I think that there is racial disparity in America.
Somebody
and
who
there
spent
are
14
big
years in the Air Force and did 4 tours over in Iraq.
yeah, that there are racial disparities in America, but the only thing that I can take from this is that if you break the law, and this is something I learned when I was 10 years old when I lived in America, I grew up there. When you break the law in America, you're in trouble. Everyone knows that. If you don't wear your seatbelt and a state trooper catches you, you're in trouble. There's no, hey, you know Billy from down the road, like in Ireland. It's like, no, you got a ticket or something's happening to you.
Yeah.
So I don't think this incident is proof that the police were being easy on, let's just call them white people, because I didn't see any black people in that protest
I saw
or
one.
brown
I saw
people.
one in a video, and he was light skinned. But you know, we did see pictures.
Viking.
We did see video of, you know, Capitol Hill police posing for selfies with protesters. We did,
and just to back you up, Martin, and it's kind of against your point, then, Peter, I suppose, is there were like contrasts, like in the past, where there were the Black Lives Matter protests going on, but there was also the anti-mask protests, especially in Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, the police, I mean, they were literally spitting. You know, these anti-mask protesters are spitting at the police in their face, and they didn't do nothing.
In the State House.
No, I guess I have a soft spot for police because I have a soft spot for the 95% or 97%, or I have no idea what percent of them who are actually decent. You know what I mean? So that's why
I'm with you on that, but I think
no, you're right. You're dead right.
I think it's a lot less than 97%. It's hard to put a number on it, but
it would be a boring debate if we all agreed with each other.
No.
I gotta try, you know.
The police always.
I won't defend Trump, by the way. I'm not here to defend Trump. I hold him directly responsible for these deaths. Like, he's a maniac.
Yeah, I mean, he gave a speech and exhorted the people to march down Pennsylvania Avenue and go provide some backbone for those Republicans that might be too scared to push this agenda. And then Trump himself was too scared to go, so he hid in the dining room off the side of the Oval Office and watched TV all day, and with glee, like some people say. Some White House staffers say that he appeared enthusiastic about what he was seeing.
Nothing's real.
No, I did see Cory Booker's speech about. Did you see Cory Booker's speech recently about? There's only been 2 times when this Capitol building has been invaded, it's just and by tyranny and stuff. But I was thinking, you know, that War of 1812, like the Brits were actually freeing the slaves then, weren't they? Do you know what I mean? I was thinking, you're full of shit. Like when I hear Cory, but I was like, we're at 1812. We were not the army of tyranny. No, we were freeing slaves at that point. While America still had its slaves, and we were, and the Royal Navy at that point. I'm getting patriotic here now. I shouldn't be. Empire and all
because
that.
Because it's bullshit. Like, you were not.
No. But Britain, the British Navy, the Royal Navy was fighting slave ships at the time, and in the War of 1812,
because they kept
Brits said
stealing your money.
Any African Americans we come across will be freed. That's true.
Yeah.
That's the truth. So Cory Booker, don't go around thinking America's perfect and
listen,
Britain in 1812.
As an Irishman, I'm going
tyranny.
to tell you, if I had a choice of any empire, it would be the British Empire. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, all right. And also, the British Empire were instrumental in stopping the transatlantic slave trade. They were.
Yeah, well, they were. That's where.
But you started it, boy. But do not tell me that that war was about slavery. It was not.
No, of course it wasn't. But we did free slaves in 1812. We did, and. I think wasn't it it was an American anthem or something that has something to do with that war, and there was also quite like, well, pro-slavery and that, and it was written at that time. I'm not too sure, but
Battle him
George,
up.
you were making a point. Sorry, George, go ahead.
We started the Atlantic slave trade. That's my point.
Well,
No, we
dude,
didn't. It was the Spanish.
Yeah,
No, dude,
right.
it was the
Followed
Africans
suit.
because you know they
weren't very
it was
good
the
at it.
Africans obviously because they're the, you know
Now
they-
our racism's out there. For
yeah
anybody
yeah
that
yeah.
doesn't-
No, in
No,
all, in all,
no,
in
no,
all
no.
honesty,
It's
the,
no, no,
the British
Martin,
Empire has done a
Martin,
lot of
it's
bad
the-
things.
No,
I
Martin,
admit.
it's the left. It's the
I
left.
mean, like the
It's
bad
the
outweighs
left.
the
It's
good.
where you plan. It's like where you blame you. It's the left's and I'm a lefty. It's where you blame one person. It's like, oh no, wait, it started here. Oh no, wait, it started here.
Yeah.
All the way back. Who sold the first slave? Probably some black chieftain. You know what I mean? Who wanted to buy a
Well, it was
new
the Egyptians,
gay
then,
man.
wasn't it?
Let me the Egyptians. Let's go back to the Babylonians. Let's go back to Adam. You know, okay, Adam and Eve. Let's go
Oh, it was
back all
Lilith.
that way.
It was Lilith.
Brit-
Let's
Brit-
be honest.
Yeah. In all truthfulness, the British Empire has a very dark past. However, I feel like there are some things for we on the left, and I am a lefty as well, but I think we just tar everything with like, oh, that was evil, that was bad, empire's bad. I mean, we talk about
No. It was
look at the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire did do good things. Like, you know, it did terrible things, it did awful
It
things,
did better things than
crucifixions,
the British
Well,
Empire.
dude,
horrible,
I
but
don't
empire
I don't
does
agree with
bring
this.
benefits, some benefits.
No, you're
It's
right.
not, it's not,
It doesn't.
my
The Roman
point is, it's
Empire
not
was
black
only
and white.
bad
It's,
if you were stupid enough to fight them and lose.
I suppose.
But if you said, yes, I will pay taxes to you, just please don't slaughter me with your well-oiled machine of a fucking army that looks like it could chop the head off, you know, everyone here, you know? I mean, I'm sorry. I know that's like a coward speaking, but that's basically it. They come into your village. It's like, they've got these hats, shields, swords. They're well organized. Let's fight them.
Well, no, but
Yeah, let's all die.
but you know the empire learned as well. So if we look at 20th century British Empire, right, and you think about places like Hong Kong, which obviously predates the 20th century, but I mean what happened for Hong Kong in the 20th century. And if you look at places in Eastern Africa, places like Uganda and Kenya, you know, there's obviously they learned, you know, it's like a kinder, gentler empire. And early 20th century, maybe still not so much if you were living in India.
It didn't work
but
though, because they started that late, man. They started that late and it ended early. They started that late in the late 1800s, and the empire was done basically after World War One. Okay, yeah, the handing over of Hong Kong to the Chinese in 1998 or whenever it
97,
was.
yeah.
Okay, that was the end of empire, but really it ended after World War One.
We
you
still
know?
have the Falklands, damn it. We still have.
Well,
I'd argue it
I
ended-
still consider Great Britain to be one of the most powerful countries in the world. But the problem is, it's a fucking island. You know, that's the
That's
That's been our
problem.
strength.
It's okay. Well, in splendid isolation, yes, and you know, just doing your trade deals or no, I'm serious. Like, yes, you're right. But if you want to, you can never just have it as it is forever. You'll either go down or you got to go up. Because if you're not going up, you're going down.
It's not
So
always
there
fair.
will have to be a point where, I don't know in the future how it would work, but in the past, it had to be find colony or find a naval base, find somewhere where we can have a base and do trade from there. You know,
Yeah,
20
these
years from now.
about the Belgians, you know, they were fucking terrible in the Congo. I mean, we were bad, but
Well, the Dutch were bad. The Belgians were
Yeah.
bad. I mean,
French.
yeah.
You know,
European empires have done a lot of bad things. Let's
And,
put
like,
it that
Iceland-
way.
Iceland were bad, and they were like an empire. If you think about it, they stretched across like 4 countries.
well, the
Yeah.
Irish were bad. I mean, the Irish, basically, the Vikings invaded. Thormund, the Sea King, he invaded and sacked everywhere, defeated all the High Kings, and then founded Dublin, Cork, and Wexford and
Yeah.
Longford. And then Irish people joined him, And then, you know, what did the Irish do? Anybody who like disagreed with this new way of life, they would like tie rocks to their feet and throw them into a lake. So that kind of terror on a local scale for me is the same as terror on a global scale, because it's still terror. So I think every nation, despite how oppressed the Irish were, people are capable of that, and they do it to protect the status quo, whatever that may be.
Yeah,
Well, we
we've
live in a
seen.
time. We live in a time now where we don't really have, other than historical perspective, this experience of living under empire. I suppose that America is probably the current last great empire, but this is probably for us just experiential. In only this kind of like forum where we talk about it, we don't really live it and experience it. But I suspect with 2021, you know, Peter and I, we were sort of joking about this the other day, we're going to experience a new tyranny of empire when the extraterrestrials land and they make us a colony. And then we'll
I
really,
wasn't joking.
and then I'm not joking either. And then we'll really know what it is to be a colony. And it may be a totally bloodless colony too, a bloodless, you know.
This is perfect to go back to your point, Peter. Would you just pay the taxes to the aliens, or would you fight back?
Well,
Fucking-
the thing
fucking
is, it depends, because I sometimes wonder
Serve
if
man.
I was a citizen in the 1700s in Thessalonia or Constantinople or Bursa, you know, would I just be a good Christian and pay the taxes, you know, to the Ottoman Empire? And you know what? I probably would, because it was especially on in that time frame, it was quite a good place to live globally wise compared to other places in the world.
Get rich.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, it's the first European Union. You know, you could travel all the way down to Egypt on one passport.
Absolutely.
I think the problem with that though is hindsight, as in these German tribes. Sorry, these German tribes who like, you know, defied the Roman Pax. They thought they could win. Do you know what I mean? Like we like if aliens came here, we wouldn't know how powerful they were. We'd be like, oh, come on, we got a chance. We take it. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
But it depends what they want.
you think you could win. Do you know what I mean? Like the Germanic people thought they could win against you know,
But
they
it
thought they were
depends what
puny
they
Italians, you know?
Yeah, the
It
Hollywood
depends
film
what they
series.
want. If they came just to like do a Mars attacks or Independence Day thing, then of course you fight. But if they're coming to say, look, there's X, Y, Z, and we can go here, 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 and this is how you can live. But to do that, you have to do 1, 2, and 3.
The 1, 2,
There
and
you
3.
go.
That's what I think the bloodless colonization will be. It'll be like, okay, so here's the thing: we're here, you're here, but we've been here longer, and you are now a colony of ours. And so here's the 1, 2, 3, as our emissary Peter mentioned. You will abolish religion, all religion, right? Imagine what that will cause. You'll abolish religion. You're going to abolish currency, right?
Mhm.
And you're going to abolish war, and we're going to enforce that starting now. That's going to be really
Two
Wow,
of those three things.
that's an ultimatum.
2 of those 3 things I would have no problems doing: war and currency, no problems. Religion, I link religion to art. I put religion in the same category as music and art. And like I don't actually believe in God, okay? But I like, for example, is anybody here Catholic?
No.
just you.
Okay, well, in the Bible, there's these things called the Psalms, and they're basically poetry.
Yeah,
As a Protestant, I'm aware of the Psalms.
Yeah, they're basically poetry, but you can read them like a song. So it's like music. Okay?
Solomon.
Yeah, you could even get out an acoustic guitar and play it and sing it.
They're beautiful.
They are beautiful, and also the art and everything like that. So when I think of religion, I think of art. So it's very hard for me to separate art from religion. So if you say to me we have to get rid of religion, it would feel like we're getting rid of art also, and that would be the only thing that would have to make me kind of go, I don't know. And it's not because I believe in Jesus, like, or God or anything like that. It's because the Renaissance paintings that came from it, the Sistine Chapel, the Psalms, the Harlem Gospel Choir, you know,
Yeah. It
all
is
these
art,
beautiful
yeah.
things.
The way we
that
bury
came
the
from
dead,
it.
you know, the way we get married, everything we do is linked to religion, our religion. You know, I mean, like, that's just the way it is.
Unless they put an asterisk on it and kind of says, oh, well, look, you can still study the art side of it if you like.
I just want to say this as well. I don't know if anyone's listening who's like video game fans, but your Ultimatum, Martin, sounds like the storyline plot for Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Has anyone played that game?
No.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
You played Skyrim, have you, George?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, it's like what they the high elves basically they win a war against the Imperium, and they say, oh, you cannot worship this man god anymore, Talos. But people but the thing is, in the game,
the message is clear.
What's that?
The message is clear. You know, like you know, invaders, and you know, completely change every aspect of your.
Well, it's the same
But
problem
here's the
with,
thing, though. But sorry, in the game mode, like, people worship you come across people who worship Talos, the god, in secret. What's to stop humans worshiping Jesus or Allah or the the Hindu gods in secret?
Well, it's the same problem I had with, like, I love South Park. I think Matt Stone and Trey Parker are, like, if they're not geniuses, they're pretty close to it when it comes to their line of work. And also, I love Richard Dawkins, and I love Christopher Hitchens. I could, like, watch Christopher Hitchens lectures until the cows come home. I love the man.
Marissa and I were talking about that last night. She misses him every day, Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah, he's a great man, great man.
Okay, we got about 2 minutes left. So
okay, well, Christopher Hitchens didn't.
That's our reminder.
Oh shit!
2 minutes left.
They in South Park, when they were talking about Richard Dawkins and the God delusion, it was basically just like, hey, we are the tit people, you are the penguin people, you know, and we're different, just showing how ridiculous religion differences are. But the point they always missed was the part about the art and the music, and you know, and that's the part that always annoyed me, you know, because you don't actually have to believe in God to be.
That's what Richard Dawkins said. Richard Dawkins is like a closet Anglican, really. You know, like, he appreciates, you know, what religion is given to us, but he can see through the bullshit at the same time.
Look at John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. The guy set himself on fire, burnt his arms, did a load of heroin, and then wrote this amazing music. Now, should we set ourselves on fire? No. But we should also recognize that through this real weirdness and pain and stupidity, that some really amazing things can come out of it. So but anyway, back to Martin's point. Capitol Hill storming, that Trump should go.
All right, guys. So that about wraps it up. Our little 30-minute little podcast here on Two Chimps Typing. And welcome out to all of my guests today, Jake, George, and Peter. Thanks a lot, guys. Hey, it was great. We'll see you guys soon.
This episode was sponsored by Jack Daniels.
Yeah, sorry, I had to go to the baby.
All right.
Baby was crying. I was like, take him. So I took him.
I'll have to clean that up later.
All the best, guys. Take care.
All right, guys. See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Peace out now.
Fucking hot in here.
I wish I had that
It's
soundbite.
gone. It's
I
gone.
do. I'm still recording. I still have the soundbite. All right, I can use it. Fucking hot in here. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.